2023 meeting of the City of West Sacramento Parks, Recreation, and Intergenerational Services Commission. We will start with, our clerk, are you ready? We're all ready? Okay. We'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. So we would like to invite our guests to join the commission and staff in the pledge, and we will have Commissioner Castor lead us.
Really?
What do you want with it?
Somebody else.
Vice Chair.
Happy to do it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry. Caught me off guard.
Yeah.
And Chair will do roll call next. Commissioner Castro?
Present.
Commissioner Ahmad?
Present.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Commissioner Altamirano?
Present.
Commissioner Schatzel? And Chair Jans.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
You guys got me?
I skipped one.
Yep.
Commissioner Horowitz.
Here.
Thank you.
These meetings are always fun. I like them. Everyone relax. All right. So that brings us to item number 1, presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of this commission. So as noted on our agenda, we're prohibited by state law from discussing or taking any action on items that are brought up under item 1, but it provides an important opportunity for a public forum. We do ask that anyone wishing to address the commission on this or any other item this evening to please fill out a request to speak card, which I'm aware we have 3. 1 for the beginning, item 3 and item 4, right? And so everyone's done that. Also, there's an analog flip chart which indicates the agenda item which we are currently considering. If you're addressing a specific agenda item, please turn your card as soon as possible. We also recognize that for some, speaking in public can cause anxiety, so we request that there be no applause or any other verbal comments from the group. And we have someone ready to speak to address the commission at the beginning of the meeting. Who is it?
Justin Honan, sorry.
So Justin, you'll have 3 minutes to speak on your item. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Justin Honan. I live adjacent to the Heritage Oak Park on Key Largo Street. And basically what I want to talk today about is the item that was approved by this commission on December 7th, 2021, the Heritage Oak Park Master Plan, specifically the BMX area that was approved. I do remember there was a kind of get-together in the Heritage Oak Park to talk about essentially what we in the community, what we would like in the park. I do remember some individuals not really for the BMX for a plethora of reasons. One being it's right next to oak trees, leaves fall, creates a dangerous spot for kids, as well as maintenance and muddiness. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, even though it was already approved by the commission. Secondly, when I was reviewing this agenda item that was approved, it seemed very ambitious regards to splash pads, BMX, skate park, et cetera, a lot of amenities that maybe a normal park wouldn't have. So I was trying to look online to probably find like an environmental impact report to see what the assessment was in the community, and I couldn't find anything. So hopefully I can maybe after the meeting find something to, you know, help me understand what the impact is for all these different things. And from that's all. I concede the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Okay, that's it for the comments. And okay, so we will move to the consent regular agenda, which will be consideration of approval of the minutes for the December 6th regular meeting. I'll roll for the approval of the minutes.
You'll just ask for a motion and then a second, and we're not doing the roll call vote in person.
We're not doing it, okay.
I'll move.
Second, Commissioner Reed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, none opposed? Right. So we'll move into item number 3, which is the presentation to announce the availability of funding regarding the 2023 Annual Action Plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program.
While the PowerPoint is uploading, good evening, Chairperson Jans and members of the Commission. My name is Isaiah Alford, and I am the Community Investment Specialist in the Economic Development and Housing Department. The purpose of this presentation is to announce the availability of CDBG funding, known as the Community Development Block Grant. And after the presentation, staff requests the Commission to provide questions and comments on the goals of the 2023 CDBG funding. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Man, I think you'll do a better job than me. There we go. Thank you so much. In 2016, the City of West Sacramento became an entitlement jurisdiction, which enabled the city to receive funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. A requirement of the CDBG program is to develop a consolidated plan, which must occur every 5 years. The 5-year consolidated plan must examine the needs of low-income persons and households. CDBG funds must be used to address one of 3 national objectives. The city must develop an annual action plan, which allocates CDBG funds for activities to achieve goals of the 5-year consolidated plan. So national objectives were used to establish goals of the current consolidated plan. The first national objective benefits low and moderate income individuals and households. The second is the prevention or elimination of slums and blights. And the third national objective is an urgent need, which is something unexpected, such as a tornado or a flood. It is important to note that 70% of the jurisdiction's allocation must be used to benefit low to moderate income individuals. The CDBG program is a strict funding source, but allows for entitlement jurisdictions to use the money for a wide range of activities. These activities can be acquisition and rehab of affordable housing, construction and rehab of public facilities and public infrastructure, and economic development activities are also eligible for assistance under the CDBG program. Activities can include homeless, youth, and senior programs. And it's also important to note that any service activities is capped at 15% of the total allocation of any given year. So here is the current consolidated plan. It consists of 6 goals. Goal number 1 is to address homelessness, which has been a key focus of the council strategic plan for the past 5 years. Goal number 2 addresses homelessness by creating housing opportunities. Goal number 3 is to provide infrastructure improvements in neighborhoods suffering from disinvestment. Goal number 4 is to provide fair housing services, fair housing education and counseling services to low and moderate income residents and landlords. Goal number 5 is to support small businesses by strengthening economic opportunities for small businesses and employment. And goal number 6 is the preservation of affordable housing stock to provide housing rehab funding for single-family units.
For just 1 second, is there any way to get the presentation on the monitors?
Just
No,
one.
just one of them. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No problem.
We're all looking this way.
No problem.
Yeah,
They need to be logged in.
they're all on.
On.
It's all right. I don't want to I didn't mean to put the brakes on it. I just thought if it was an easy fix.
No problem.
It's okay. We'll look up there. Sorry about that.
No problem. So these goals represent the needs that were identified during the consolidated plan process. However, not all of the goals will be achieved nor funded with CDBG funds. So here are some of the projects that the CDBG funded over the last couple of years. The PSH project, which is the picture that's displayed to the right, the city committed 2017 and 2018 CDBG allocations to support the development of an 85-unit permanent supportive housing project that specifically target homeless individuals with serious mental illness or those at risk of chronic homelessness. This project was completed in December 2021, and as a result, 100% of the units were occupied. The North Riverwalk Trail Extension Project was the second project. In 2016, CDBG funds were used for the design improvements to a section of the Riverwalk Trail which connects to I Street Bridge. This project benefits low-income residents in Census Tract 101.01 and provide ADA accessibility to persons with mobility impairments. Currently, this project is in the construction phase. With the 2020 and the 2022 annual action plans, the city allocated funds towards the Washington and Broderick Lighting and Safety Project. The objective of this project was to improve pedestrian safety and visibility by replacing and updating street lights and traffic signals throughout Washington and Broderick neighborhoods, specifically in Census Tract 101.01. In 2019, $60,000 was allocated to fund a microenterprise technical assistance program for low to moderate income individuals owning or working towards owning a small business in West Sacramento. In 2022, the city partnered with the California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to operate the program. As a result, there was a total of 24 workshops that were conducted in English and in Spanish for participants to receive technical assistance. And a total of 17 small businesses were assisted. Fair housing services have been funded $21,000 every year of the current consolidated plan. And lastly, Home Key Supportive Services at 817 West Capitol Ave, formerly known as Roadway Inn, primarily serving homeless population through case management or supportive services. So how are activities selected? Not all eligible projects are good uses for CDBG funds due to federal regulations and requirements. Staff attempts to be strategic and use CDBG funds on projects that are ready to move forward. And will not expend an undue amount due to meet federal requirements. So we typically use CDBG funds to leverage other private, state, and local funds. And this picture to the right as well, that's the Census Tract 101.01 that I've been mentioning previously. So HUD has not announced the CDBG allocations for the 2023 year, but it's likely that the city will receive an amount similar to the previous year's allocation of $470,478. So this is our updated anticipated schedule that we intend to follow to complete the annual action plan. The agenda report is slightly different, but we decided to push the 30-day public comment period and the second public hearing to allow additional time to review any public comments we receive and internal discussion. So the first steps of the annual action plan process was to attend and present at the EDH Commission and the Parks Commission, and what the recommendations that we received from both commissions, we plan on developing a 30-day public comment period for the 2023 annual action plan draft, and then staff's plans on presenting before the city council to receive comments on the annual action plan and return to city council with the final draft of the annual action plan. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time, and I'm open for questions and comments.
Commissioner Reed?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I really appreciated your comment about the number of small businesses that have been served in that program. I have a strong commitment to metrics and outcomes. And in terms of the homeless folks that have been served or the seniors that have been served, do we have some outcomes from our expenditures over the years that enable us to determine how close we are to the goals that we were trying to meet and the accomplishments that resulted from the investments that we've made in the past?
Yes, I believe we do. I would call on my supervisor Raul to assist with answering that question.
Thank you. Hi, Raul.
Good evening. My name is Raul Huerta. I'm the housing manager in economic development and housing. Yes, to answer your question, we do have data that we collect for all of our programs. As Isaiah mentioned, our CDBG funds are primarily used as additional funding that's partnered with other funding from state or federal programs. So we always have to report on the activities that we do. So we do keep track of the number of individuals that are served. We have to track race and ethnicity. We have to track age, disability, things of that nature. We don't have the data with us today, but if you're interested in getting some of that information with regards to, say, our Home Key program at the former Roadway Inn or the Permanent Supportive Housing Project that was just completed back in December of 2021, we do have that data that we can provide to the commission.
So the kind of things that that interest me are, for instance, again, with back to your small business program. So as an outcome, how many new small businesses were created, or how many were able to expand or improve their bottom line as a result of the assistance that was given? Or in the housing, how many of those folks were able to transition to either to jobs or more permanent housing that enabled them to live more sustainably in a place of well-being?
Certainly. Yeah, we can probably provide that data for you. Our consultant, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, I know keeps track of who they serve, what additional assistance they've received, if they've actually opened a business or expanded it. So again, we can get the data for you, for the commission, if everybody's interested. It may take us a few days to gather that and put it together, but that's certainly something that we can make available for everybody.
And then does that data, I would hope, would feed back into what programs you're going to prioritize for the coming year in terms of how either programs could be improved to further meet the goals that were established, or sort of we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish and we can move on to something else?
Certainly, yeah.
How does that process work?
When looking at what programs to fund, we do have to look at outcomes and how successful the programs have been. So that's certainly one of the guidelines that we use to determine programs that are funded. But we also have to consider new projects or activities that are brought before us to fund. And as long as they fall within the parameters of our 5-year consolidated plan goals, and they fit within the requirements of the CDBG program, we will look at them as new programs to be funded. Especially if it builds on prior programs that we've had in the past. I think the homeless activities is a perfect example of one where we funded the Home Key program, which is a transitional housing program. We funded the Permanent Supportive Housing Project, which is permanent housing for formerly homeless individuals. Our CDBG funds have also been used in the past for programs like the Downtown Streets Team. So all of those programs build upon each other. So those types of activities that just continue to build and making sure that our goals are met and outcomes are delivered, we will consider.
Super, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Certainly.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for what you're doing in the community. It's so important. And
My initial question was how much you anticipate to work with the community schools program that'll be coming up in West Sacramento. I think River City is one of the candidates, and I believe I forget the other one. But because that's supposed to be kind of an integrated approach to like community education, housing, all that stuff. And are you working with them? I think it's through United or
United Way.
yeah, United Way.
At this time, CDBG funds are not currently used for.
Not the funds, just your organization and kind of like if you're going to be working with them, because they're having a few meetings in the community to kind of like get ideas for the community schools, and there's a housing component. So I was wondering if you're working with them on that.
Yeah, so we haven't been approached yet to be involved in that process, but that's something that we can certainly look into and reach out to see if it's something that we can get involved in. If there's a housing component, certainly we would be interested in being involved and trying to provide some feedback. But at this time, we have not been approached to be part of that working group.
Okay. Second question is this, and forgive me if I sound ignorant on the matter. I was wondering, like with people that have permanent housing, I don't know if it's through like home ownership or if it's just through other forms of housing. Because one of your goals is to eliminate blight. And having come from like a low-income background myself, one of the things that I remember my family struggled with was knowing how to maintain your home because you just didn't have those skills. And so what kind of educational opportunities, et cetera, do people have to be able to learn how to, sustain themselves independently?
We haven't funded specific courses for that. However, in the past, the CDBG funds have been used to fund first-time home buyer assistance programs. Mm-hmm. And with all of our home buyer assistance programs, we've always required potential homeowners to attend homeownership classes before they can apply and bring us their certificates. Those homeownership classes, part of the information that they get is home maintenance. It's typically budgeting, preparing to be a homeowner, the escrow process, and then home maintenance, and being a good neighbor, the topics that are covered. So we've done it through that indirectly, but we've never had specific courses on home maintenance with CDBG funds. It's certainly something that we could consider and look at, but we haven't, again, in the past done that specifically or directly.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everything you're doing. There's so much that encompasses housing and ownership, right? Or just permanent housing in general. I would encourage you all, if you haven't, or if the funds allow, there's a few people in the community, in the larger Sacramento community, who are doing stuff where they're trying to teach people like empowerment through like being able to work on be able to kind of carry out little tasks in your homes that you didn't really learn from your grandpa or something. So I'm happy to direct that to you if that's something I can fit into your model. But thank you. I want to emphasize how important this is. And my children went to school with Westfield at one point, and so many of the kids over there were unhoused. And so it's something that you're doing that it really touches my heart. Thank you.
We'll just move this. Okay. Good. Go ahead.
I was wondering what kind of outreach you're going to do to the community for everything. Like, how are you going to get them involved so that they can make public comment and, if they had questions and stuff?
So typically we reach out, we do a newsletter, and also we reach out to the community through the newsletter. Not only that, we reach out to BB CAN, which is the Bright and Broderick
Network.
Community Action Network, as well as Legal Services of Northern California. And also, I forget I'm missing one, the HVAC as well. So we do our due diligence in completing the outreach to get the word out, but we strongly encourage the public to comment and make recommendations on a 30-day public comment period that we have listed.
Do you guys have a flyer or anything that we could share with the public?
No, we don't have a flyer right now, but that's something that we can implement, and that's one of the things that our HUD rep has encouraged us to do is creating flyers to get the additional word out. So,
Thank you.
And if I may add to that, obviously, coming to the commission is part of that outreach process that we do. As Isaiah mentioned, a couple of weeks ago, we were at the Economic Development and Housing Commission, where we also got some additional public input. We're here today for that purpose as well. We'll be doing a 30-day public comment period, as Isaiah mentioned, where the public is invited to provide additional comments or requests for funding. We do outreach, as Isaiah mentioned, to the BB to Legal Services for Northern California directly, to the HPAC, which is our local continuum of care that deals primarily with homelessness issues on a countywide basis. The notices are also posted in public places like the library in this building. We have a website specifically for CDBG funds, and we put all of our notices on the website. So we do try to be as proactive as we can. There's always room for improvement, obviously. And I know something that Isaiah has talked about doing is, hitting the street, handing out flyers about the CDBG program, especially in our 10101 census tract, which is our low-income census tract in the district, in the city, I'm sorry. That's why a lot of the funding, a lot of the projects that we have funded are in that census tract, because it is the city's only low-income census tract at this point.
So would that be the Broderick area, right?
It would be the Washington and Broderick
Washington,
area, correct?
So I had a meeting, a town hall meeting or a public roundtable in the Broderick area. We held an accelerator also with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce before, and we had about, I think, 60 people there. So that's why I asked, because when we have meetings, we could always share it,
Yeah,
to everybody else.
if you want to reach out to Isaiah and provide
Okay.
the contact information, we're always looking for different avenues to distribute the information, right? Neighborhood associations like the BB Can are a perfect way to get the word out because they have their own network of people that they can contact. And that's a great way to get the word out. I know that we've talked about perhaps reaching out to the churches because that's another source that we've used in the past to get the word out. Again, trying to get the community to provide input on city activity.
For me, because I do live in the Broderick and Bright area, I know a lot of the people, their concerns were, we never saw this. So for me, it's something that I make sure that I'm extra, or that I provide that information even more, because sometimes they don't have that readily available to them.
Certainly.
Thank you.
I just want to echo some of the comments about the work that you've done. It's really impressive, and to see it come together like this, it's always uplifting, when you see positive results from these programs. One thing that, and the document that was sent to us was very in depth, a lot of data, a lot of results, and one of the things that I really kind of honed in on, and I had just a couple of questions or maybe comments, was about the chronic homelessness, because this issue is so encompassing, right? It's not, you can't just put your finger on one part of it. There's just a very broad range of issues for different individuals. But it was regarding the homeless coordinator, I think is the name of the person that is the initial contact for folks experiencing homelessness. And if the grant does any funding, if there's any need for expansion to have more than one person. And I know from what I gathered, at least from the document, I guess is where my question comes from, how that person ties into the other areas like the Mercy Coalition, the Yolo County programs, and how an individual through this channel can take that first step on the path that they want to go on. And if you're seeing any results of recurring homelessness after they've gone through these programs and through the housing projects, through the housing project and the different programs that are available for housing, if the services that are provided in this grant need to be expanded to continue to help them along should they need it, or they return to homelessness after the program.
Certainly. So I think if you talk to our homeless coordinator, and you're talking about Mark Sawyer, he'll tell you that they need all the help that they can get. There's never going to be enough, unfortunately, sources to deal with the chronic homelessness, not just in West Sacramento, but in the entire state. And that's one of the reasons why you'll notice that goal number 1 and goal number 2 in our 5-year consolidated plan deal with homelessness. And that's another reason why a lot of the resources, a lot of the CDBG resources have been put into homeless activities, like the Permanent Supportive Housing Project, like the Home Key program at the former Roadway Inn, like the Downtown Streets team, because they help support all of those homeless initiatives that the city is funding and looking at ways to reduce the impact of homelessness on the city and reduce the incidence of homelessness. CDBG funds, in terms of paying for salary for staff, is not, it's complicated. Certainly not the best way that HUD wants you to use those funds. So that's why we've primarily focused on providing those funds for support of those services. Again, approximately 1.2 million of our CDBG funds, and that was 2 years of allocation, was used to support that permanent supportive housing project that was built by Mercy Housing. Approximately 1 million, or just over 1 million, was used to support the Home Key program. And we've been, starting last year, allocating our 15% cap of services to the Home Key program site to fund the supportive services that are offered to those individuals, which is a key component of any homeless initiative. Those wraparound services that they get to actually get them out of homelessness and get them ready to reintegrate them into the community. Those are the ways that we've tried to use our CDBG funds to help deal with the whole homeless situation and the impacts to the community, using our CDBG funds. And of course, there's other funds. CDBG is I must say, it's a fairly small component of some of the other funding that we've had. Certainly our local Measure E funds, which a big portion, at least 50% of that, is used for homeless initiatives. We've also been successful in getting grants from Yolo County to help pay for a lot of those services.
Okay. I guess I understand what you're saying about the ability for, because grants are very restrictive. They have certain components that need to be met, certain criteria, very specific. I guess maybe then my comment would be to just generally with the city is to see some expansion of the initial outreach to homelessness in West Sacramento, to Commissioner Castro's point of making them aware that, hey, these things have been built to help you begin this path, out of homelessness, and just getting that outreach and the coordination more involved somehow so that they can tie into these programs even more. And maybe we can even see some expansion of the grant if we can show even more, outreach and coordination with them. So probably outside the scope of this commission, but that would be my comment. Yeah. But I appreciate everything you're doing. This is a fantastic program to know there's at least something available to people.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
And I think the last thing I'll say about that is last year, the city created the Community Outreach and Support Division in the police department, added additional staff. So I think that alone has really increased the outreach that they can do. Whereas in the past, it was basically Mark Sawyer, the only one who was doing all that work. He now has actually 2 or 3 staff that work with him on doing the outreach in the encampments in other areas of the city. So they have fortunately received more support. Again, there's always going to be a need for more. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it also falls kind of outside of our scope, but I know that the city is doing, quite a bit to find additional resources for these homeless initiatives.
It's great, and I don't want my comment to be misunderstood as a criticism. It's just sometimes when you make comments, you could pull out more information, like you just said, that you have all these different groups working together, and I didn't get that from the document initially. So thank you for that. Commissioner Reed, you had one more comment?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on Commissioner Castro's comment, and one of the things that I didn't hear us talk about is food security. And so apropos of your interest in being out in the field and on the streets, et cetera, another channel of communication could be through the food trucks and the farmers markets and the urban farms that we have here, and tie into just, conversations with people about what kind of struggles they have with respect to food security and the quality of food actually that they have access to through even the traditional services that we're all familiar with. And I just wanted to add that I'm personally very proud of the work that the city of Sacramento has done insofar as outreach and services and supports to our homeless population. My understanding in the larger realm of things is that many of our programs are model programs that are looked at by other jurisdictions, and so good job.
Thank you so much. And we have a comment on this item as well from the public, right?
Correct, yes. Don Bosley.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's good to have a chance to speak in front of you. I am Don Bosley, the Executive Director of the Mercy Coalition, and I want to tell you about a friend of mine named Joe. Joe is a friend of mine. Joe used to live with his family on the riverbank before the 2014 Bridge to Housing program allowed him to come and get housing for the first time in a while. From there, Joe moved into more permanent housing, and from that space, he connected with Downtown Streets team, rose through the ranks, and became a supervisor. And last year, as he moved into even more supportive housing, more permanent housing, he applied for and received a job with us at the Mercy Coalition. He now is working with us at our new Recovery Cafe, West Sacramento, where he has been taught to use an espresso machine and is now known to one and all as Java Joe, and sits back there. I share this story with you because this is an example of what we really feel within the Mercy Coalition and our partners, including the city. The principle of restorative community. It needs to be at work as we're addressing issues related to homelessness and trauma. It's part of the reason that we opened this Recovery Cafe last fall, which is a safe healing space for folks that are suffering from the trauma of homelessness, because we have to recognize that homelessness is a trauma unto itself. It wasn't just, you didn't just get there by trauma, it becomes a trauma on its own. And same with mental health disorders, substance use disorders. So we have all these people coming regularly to this Recovery Cafe that we have opened. Every single Monday morning, we walk to Community Lutheran Church behind the Chevron there by the freeway, old A-frame church, and we push all the pews to the front, and in 35 minutes we can turn that whole thing into a cafe, and it'll be a cafe all week long, and Friday night it comes back down. In that space, around that space, we are envisioning a new project, a collaboration between the Mercy Coalition, West Sac Housing Development Corporation, and other partners like the city and Downtown Streets. I want to just put it on your radar. It's coming, this vision of something that we're calling the Mosaic Village, which is meant to have the center as the Recovery Cafe, and we're looking at building sober living environment housing around it, bringing in more job skills training, stuff that the Downtown Streets brings, where every day, just like Joe, lots of other folks can come, and the workplace actually becomes a restorative community, a place to be, a place where they get encouragement. It is so much more important that we do more than just put folks in new housing. That's important, but if we take away their community, we're really cutting their legs off and their ability to be able to thrive. We're seeing something different, and that's what Mosaic Village is about. My time is up, but in departing, may I address Commissioner Reed here? We happen to be one of the vendors for the supportive services of Project Home Key, and I can give you this data. In the last year, we served more than 9,000 meals to the food bags to the people at Project Home Key. We put out more than 13,000 emergency food bags in addition to that to go to walk-up folks. We gave away more than 3,000 items of clothing to walk-up people who were in need of clothing. And we, for the tenants there, using the same kind of people as Java Joe, we're able to do more than 1,000 loads of laundry for folks there. So there's some quick data for you.
Thank you, and thank you for
Thanks
all
for
your work.
indulging me.
Thank you so much for that. I actually had written here before we moved on that I wanted to remind everybody, this is a public forum, and I personally, I think, and I don't want to speak for you, but I would imagine that all of us would love to hear more stories like that from anyone in the public who would want to share a story. I know it takes a lot of courage, but I just want to publicly go out and invite anyone who has been a part of this program, who's been impacted by Home Key, through the Mercy Coalition, through any of these programs, to come and share their story, because I think people need to, they need to hear it. They need to see that there are things happening. There are good people like you in the world out there trying to help others and doing everything they can to help people. And it's not as doom and gloom as they like to make it out on the TV, that there are good people out there and they're doing good things, and it's making an impact. So thank you so much for sharing that story. It's getting me a little emotional. I loved it. Thank you so much. Okay, we will move on to item number 4, the design presentation workshop on the West Acre Park renovation and expansion project. We have a public.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair. I'm up here.
I was like, where is that voice coming from?
Yeah, disembodied voice, I apologize. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. My name is Erin Rivas, and I'm the Parks and Recreation Business Manager. I'm here with Jay Shahal. He's the City Construction Manager, and he and I are functioning as co-interim directors for Tracy Michael, as she's actually participating in the City Manager in Training program, and also as the acting city manager right now. So you got us tonight. The item I'm bringing to you this evening is the final design presentation for the West Acre Park expansion and renovation project. As you know, West Acre Park is one of the many city parks that we share with Washington Unified School District as part of a joint use agreement. The park is owned by the school district, but we operate and maintain it, and it's available for public use. The city was awarded nearly $8 million in grant funding, the statewide park development and community revitalization program, used to pay for the renovation of the park and expansion of the park as well. The proposed improvements include renovating the existing skate park, improved playfields, new playground equipment, basketball courts, tennis courts, walking loops, pickleball courts, benches and seating area, shade elements, landscaping, a splash pad, a restroom, a drinking fountain, and an art feature. The city has been working closely with the community to refine the park design, including multiple community engagement events and online surveys. Here to provide you with a PowerPoint presentation of the proposed improvements are Greg Melton and Sarah Crossley from Melton Design Group.
Ma'am.
Welcome back.
Yeah, good to be back here. She kind of did a little recap, but I'll add to that. Last time we were here, you were seeing the options that we had. We had narrowed it down from A to B to C at that point. And so you all know we've multiple public meetings, from the initial kickoff to initial skateboard meetings, more staff meetings. What do you call that big staff meeting you guys have? All staff meeting. It was great. There was, I don't know, 40 people there, and we were looking at the same plan you guys looked at last time, and it was just a great engagement to your whole staff. Everybody from the guys who mow the lawns to the guys who play with the sprinklers, everything were involved. So it really helped us grasp exactly where we are going with this from a maintenance standpoint, operations standpoint, not just fun design bus stuff, but everything else to go with it. So, that was integrated. We went to the option after option C. We went back to the public. We had another meeting at the school. It was a joint skate park and park meeting. Some return people, a lot of new people. We did talk to a lot of the people in the area. So I think the neighborhood has been pretty well informed from, to represent you guys in this process. So yeah, from that, I guess I should be moving through slides at the same time. Oh, went the wrong way. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as you can see, the drawing has come alive. And now you see this park, several years down the road with full tree growth and a lot of people playing on the soccer fields and skate park. Just touching base, we did start to look at a lot of the wellness elements we wanted to bring into the park in addition to just recreation. So the leisure, the health and wellness. I believe you saw this slide last time. So just so you know, we'll show you some slides on that and where that ended up today. I know you're very interested in your labyrinth.
Thank you.
So the public meetings, I think, went really well. You saw these option A. I'm just repeating myself. Option B. We really wanted to address the active and passive recreation. So it was a great great vision to really talk to people about the interaction of the different elements and what I call relationships. Because it's really important that the relationships of all the elements work together. Otherwise, the people aren't happy that are using them. And so this analysis really helped us do that. Here we are on the site, a lot of people giving input on everything from skating, basketball, pickleball. There's even flag football people, coming off their games to come in and participate. We showed a lot of ideas, a lot of different ideas, and people gave us good direction. So that was one way we were able to get to this, I think, pretty quickly, is that we got good input from your community. There's a whole list of information in your pamphlet there if you want to read them all. But as you can see, the people are very happy from that point. We had another meeting indoors. You can see the skate park designers, myself, others there sharing the plans. And option C turned into what is now the preferred option with the 6 pickleball courts, the big skate park. We had multiple options of that skate park that the skaters really engaged with. We even started having phone calls and emails directly with them at the office, and they were just saying, hey, we like this, we don't like this, do this. So, because a lot of skaters couldn't all come to the meeting, so Aaron hooked us up with them, and they kept communicating. So it was really good how that worked, and the options just refined and refined, and here we are now with the preferred option. So I'm going to have Sarah go over all the icing of the cake here to go over those, but I think you're going to like it.
So yeah, as Aaron mentioned, we covered and added more elements that were in the Prop 68 grant. So we have 6 pickleball courts, north-south direction is what the pickleball is preferred. So we made sure they were laid out in that way. We added a practice wall. It also acts as a buffer, a noise buffer for the neighbors on the left there. And also a vegetative screen, just created a really nice buffer, and also practice wall there. We have a picnic shelter / amphitheater off, not a laser, but it's off the turf field. So we wanted the turf field to be multi-use, so for sports, but also for different events utilizing the amphitheater. We added a lot of shade trees and kept as many existing trees as we could. There's a reflexology trail, ecotherapy trail, and pollinator garden. What's that? Oh, yeah. And I'll go through the blow-ups in a sec. So yeah, large turf field, and then we have our core active play area. Like Greg was talking about, we have our passive areas, we have our active areas. So we wanted to keep the majority of all the active areas together. So the skate park has its own corner, and then, our reflexology and pollinator gardens in the other corner. Just wanted to separate super high activity from the passive. So in our core play area, we have our active play area with our playground equipment, our big bus play element with a rock climbing wall and other supportive themed elements. We have our splash play area, which is themed like our urban industrial site with pipes, different fun things. Just driving around West Sacramento, we saw you have a lot of industry around here. So we really wanted to celebrate the site like Greg went through the site, we dove into the history a bit, and the site used to be an old school bus yard. So that's where we got the school bus from. The theme really presented itself. We have a large restroom shade pavilion. So we wanted to utilize that building for more than just a building. It's a great base to have a shade extension off of it, and we can fit quite a bit of people to seat under there. It also creates a little outdoor classroom. So we have the amphitheater, but say the spray isn't on, or, you know, we just have multi-use there. It becomes almost like a little urban plaza. So we really like the multi-use of all the different elements in. We have ADA spinner, lots of swings. People love swings. And then another big spinner. So we have quite a bit of play elements. We were looking at syncing in the spray and the active play area to create a little hierarchy, and that alone is more fun to kind of circulate, go up and down. You can go, you know, climb up the rock climbing wall, lots of different play that's built in naturally, and also the inclusive access when you're working with the grade to build ramps with the earth instead of building ramps that look like it's an accessible feature. We really like to do that to just blend it and make it inclusive without looking like it's inclusive with plastic and ramps and things like that. So we really wanted to think of everything, and, you know, in this 5 acres, we got all the elements in, and just made it really exciting for the community. We kept the basketball court where it's located now, so we saved on just reusing what we have there. We tried to be as conscious as possible with the design. And then the skate park's about 14,000 square feet, and we wanted to utilize the building that's there, the larger one. There's, I think, is it 2 smaller ones on site? Those will be demoed, but we wanted to utilize the larger one for an indoor skate area, which the community members really liked. They mentioned B Street was one they liked to go to that was indoors, but it gets crowded a lot. You have to have, I think they said, a phone to sign a waiver, and some people don't have that, and they just really liked how they could come here. It's all weather. They can be inside and hang out and skate. So that was a really cool element and something they're really excited about. We have a lot of art integrated. You know, the bus itself's a piece of art. We have walls that can all be covered with murals. Just a lot of different spots art can be added over the years. Lots of seating, like Aaron mentioned, gathering spaces, shade. All right, now I'll go to some of these were not included in the grant, and that includes the block wall in the pickleball area for the noise and practice wall, the labyrinth, and the amphitheater, also the reflexology trail. And then we just wanted to highlight some areas for review if we did want to decrease the cost on, could be the splash area or the bus themed area. And then the structure wasn't originally, you know, we were going to demo that, but we really think it'd be great to keep, and we included that in our funding, but it's not a part of the grant. So we just wanted to call out those things on this sheet. I'll go through some renderings of the site so we can get a better view of the vision. So right now you're looking, if you're in the parking lot, which we also added a large parking lot to lessen the burden on, I think it's Evergreen there, to get people more off the street, especially, you know, we have pickleball coming, we're gonna have so many more people coming. So we wanted to be able to handle all of that. But yeah, we're looking at, you pulled into the parking lot, you have a West Acre sign, and we're looking at the active play area with the splash and the play, the basketball. There's the bus. So right now we're envisioning it's accessible off the back. You can roll right up into the bus and access it that way. There's a slide off the climbing wall. You can climb up a center net to get to the big tall slide. And we wanted to play with the ground surface as well, doing a optical illusion hole or oil spill or something different we haven't really seen before that goes with the theme. Also different themed elements. We're showing some industrial looking robots right now, but you know, those can be anything, and also incorporating the natural, like the rock climbing wall, having some planting and trees around. It just helps to soften and provide a lot of shade. There's our original sketch of the bus with some inspiration images. The bus at a different angle.
And we could work with different materials, perforating metal so it's not solid, you can see through. I know we want to have visibility. So as we dive more into the design, we can refine and really get the look we want. Another view of the bus and the spray. We wanted them to be close to each other too, so you can cool off, go down the slide, run between them. It would be all pour in place, so you're not having bark picked up into the spray park and everything. Also for accessibility, it's much easier for someone in a wheelchair to roll around, get around in there.
We've perforated the shade structures.
Oh.
back,
Yeah.
with the goal of creating shade, but also not creating a place to spend the night. If it, we wanted to make sure that we still made it very comfortable if you want to be underneath there, but rain will come through. So,
It also creates another opportunity for art, playing with light. So when the sun comes in, you have a really cool pattern on the ground. So just a multi-use element. Another view from above the bus. Spray ground. And what we envision in the spray ground, it'd be cool to get some rusted pipe, and internally you have a finished nice pipe and we seal the outside. So just getting really authentic instead of just getting something from a warehouse, from the playground manufacturer, which would be fine. But we really wanted to see what we could use around West Sacramento and really bring the history and culture into this.
And there are some elements where you'll be able to spin a wheel and the spray will spin around. And so there's interactive with, different wheels or levers and things like that. So it will be, it'll be a fun one for kids to learn.
Yeah, and it's also opportunity, say we have an interpretive panel or some kind of art or something where we can make it a teaching moment too and tie that in with our park about sustainability and how pipes work, or, we just have an opportunity there to add in more than just another play element. Another view, there's a large group picnic pavilion. Like I was saying, the restroom and pump house, it's all in that building, but it also makes for a great structural support for our large picnic pavilion. So we wanted to make sure we made the best use of that, and also creates 4 awesome sides for art and murals. Another view of that, you can see people sitting on the steps in front of that picnic pavilion. So that created a nice seating little amphitheater area for people to hang out in. That's if you're sitting under that picnic pavilion, you have just a great view of all the active play area. All the elements on the west side, we have our amphitheater, the labyrinth, pickleball. We extended a planter, so you have a lot of shade trees on the south side, so you could get a lot of shade in the afternoon and really shade all those courts without having to do a shade structure. Some more views of the pickleball court. The amphitheater, we're not thinking of any huge band shell or anything like that, just something simple for people to gather. You could even do weddings here. You could do guest speaking, outdoor classroom, a lot of different uses. We could have electrical over here, lighting. And then we dive into our wellness elements. Like I mentioned, the natural labyrinth, this is a really low cost option. Just to get people to relax, unwind, something different to do. It feels very passive behind the amphitheater, even though it's by pickleball. You're still kind of tucked away in this nice little grove. This is where the existing big trees are that we're keeping. The reflexology path and the pollinator garden, like I was saying before, it's tucked in its own little corner. We could plant some evergreen trees, lots of pollinator plants, interpretive panels. And the reflexology path or pebbles or a different kind of surface you can take your shoes off and walk on, and it helps to relax you hitting the different pressure points on your foot. The basketball court, like I was saying earlier, we're keeping it where it is, utilizing a lot of that concrete, so we're not having to redo something that's already there. we could add some coloring and really, up it. We'll be getting new hoops. On the either side, we have a concrete seat wall that's kind of like a bleacher, 2-story high. So it's really low maintenance. It's just a concrete form. You pour it and you clean it once in a while, and that's it. So the existing building, this is what we are looking at opening up into the skate park, keeping the back wall totally solid. We don't need any access back there. It's really tight and the grade change is steep. So I do show an arrow out of the shop that way, but we'll keep all that side closed and then using just steel frames to open it up in 3 different spots. Would have a lot of good flow for the skaters. And renovations to this would really be minimal. We're wanting it to look industrial and rustic anyway. We just want to use it for the shade cover. It's there and it's upcycling the building, which is our park scene and sustainability mission anyway. There's just a view of it in the skate park. So on that, on the south side there, the right-hand side, we have our maintenance shop. We could also add some shipping containers, like 8 by 20 foot, for storing tools and other additional things needed. And then you can see the gray access road that for the times that they need to bring out equipment and things, they can just use that and get out of a double gate. Otherwise, it's used as skate area, so we're not creating a whole separate road that'll only be used every so often to get equipment out. But the skaters can really use that and make it worthwhile for the extra concrete there. Another view of that. We'll also have some nice signage at that drop-off. We'll have a little wall with nice signage and entry. Quick section we've had before. And the skate park, we also had a Zoom meeting for community feedback yesterday, and I included some of the comments in, and overall they're all very excited, and as Greg was saying, they're very passionate, and it was just great that they were just so into the process and they're very excited. They said, when's construction? So it was fun to hear from them and really get all their input. So this is a skate design. In the grant, one of the requirements was a pump track. And the skaters actually made a comment, they really like it. It's really good for beginner skaters to learn how to get going. And so with this design, it's for skate and bike, and really it's called the all-wheel park. Not just for skate, it's for all-wheel. So that was, press the button. That was good to know when working with our skate designer on the park. Just some more views of it. They put in a lot of good elements. For all levels, and that was really important. We included all of that. The bowl was the least wanted item for a lot of the members, so we still have a good sized one, but they wanted a lot of the street elements. So yeah, here's some of the comments that we got from yesterday. They really liked that it was tailored to them. They liked, a lot of them liked more of the mellow elements. They weren't wanting anything crazy, they just want to have fun. They wanted it for all ages. Good for programming for the city. And then we left with asking them, what's an element that you can't skate on in the city that we can maybe add here that you can skate on? What do you want? And they said, well, let us think about it. So we gave them the plans. We're thinking on it. Like Greg was saying, we just been coordinating with them directly, and it's been a really good process. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I just have a comment, actually.
No, I just think the whole presentation from start to, now has just been great. And I think just how you guys have laid everything out for the public, and then the engagement with the public is like, it's pretty awesome. So it's just that comment.
Thank you.
I'm a volunteer coach at River City, and I happened to be scootering onto campus the other day. going slow. I got to the practice, and the coach was quick to tell me that there had been a crackdown on campus about skateboarding and et cetera. So there is an influx in the area for skateboarders. So to have an outlet such as this is a great thing for the community and that growing community. So that's awesome.
Definitely want to echo your thoughts. I think it's been fun watching this process develop over time. I, in particular, love that there's been such a commitment on the side of the city and Parks Department on your side to focus on the skate park. I think it's an important place to build for people to go and bring energy to a productive area of town instead of, in a way that impacts the rest of the community negatively. So I really support that. I'm happy that people have started shifting in that direction because I said last time, I grew up and all my skater friends said, they need to build more skate parks. And I always thought, why? We're not the people they care about. And I like to see that that's shifted, and I appreciate that you guys have pushed so hard for it, and everybody else has supported this as well. I noticed one thing. Let me get to that in a sec. I really appreciated the way you've designed the tree barriers. I think the one thing that if you go and see this park in person, you notice is that it's not surrounded by nice lawns on the edges, and there happens to be some traffic on that street, so it really is in the middle of the city, and so the focus on building tree walls to help block the edge that has the freeway, and also to put them on the side of the parking space to even block the view of the parking space from the street. I think that was a really smart decision, and I think that'll help make the area look nicer as you drive past, even though it's clearly open to the passersby. The only question I really have is something that one of the slides highlighted about the difference between things that are paid for, things that are not paid for, and things you've developed. And so I guess the question I get to is, so where does that leave us? I mean, is that on the city or the department to find grant funding in order to meet these parts of the design? Is there still tweaking that's happening on your end to try to bring it into budget? I do want to make sure that we're not going over budget, but Erin, I see you ready to answer me.
Yeah,
so
well, I think it's going to be a combined effort of determining what everybody wants. I think because this is going to be such a spectacular park, that if people decide that they want the cool bus, then we'll have to see if we can find funding. I know we've got some PIF, and we will do our best to make it happen. So, but I think we wanted to look at these potential, cost saving measures. Maybe the bus isn't quite as sophisticated. So yeah, we're just kind of looking. I think we've taken feedback from prior commissions. We've eliminated some items that we didn't think. I know, like the tot lot was one of them. That wasn't a desired, improvement. So we pulled that, and so we're just kind of shaving where we can. But I think like the pickleball courts are going to be amazing. I think that because of all the just the incredible community engagement, we've just are creating an amazing amenity for the community. And I think we're going to work together to kind of pare it down if we can, and if not, try to find the funding.
Yeah, and if the funding just doesn't show up, I mean, you'll still get a bus. It just won't be either so big or spectacular, or maybe we don't have that top tower, right? We just have to shrink down with some things. The water play will be a little simpler. So you're still going to have all the elements. I think it's just the uniqueness of them will come down just a bit, if that's where we end up.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I agree with everyone. It's very exciting to see this park change. I lived in that neighborhood, so it's been, definitely I'm like, I wish this park was better. So it's nice to see that it will be better soon. I have a few questions. I'll start with the pickleball. Is it last time when we had this presentation, the first presentation we had, I believe in December, I'd asked if it could be mixed use, and if was that something looked into at all for futsal?
If it could be used for futsal?
Yeah. And I think there was some talk of maybe that could be a mixed-use court for boat sports.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that can be. So we just have to assess at this point whether that's, we had nobody come forward for futsal in the process.
Well, there was
except you.
actually, well, yeah, it's in the pictures.
It
says
is,
futsal.
yeah. We had that in there, and it's a multi-use element that we could bring in, whether it's there or at the basketball court. It could be at either one.
Okay. I would encourage you all to, because
Okay.
I've seen mixed-use pickleball futsal courts. I think that, as I mentioned, I know if it wasn't something that came forward with the community outreach, I know, again, having lived in this neighborhood on Proctor, and knowing that with our Parks Master Plan, that soccer is like a huge priority to this community, but also, I love that your themes of sustainability also kind of bleed into the idea of like inclusivity. It's a very important turf field for the Latino community. Right. And so so many of our youth in this community go to Natomas or wherever to play futsal because we don't have enough field usage. So it would be great to have, I see so much of that mixed use design incorporated in everywhere else. And I'd love to see that with the pickleball as well. Okay. So if it's as simple as just trying to get those little nets down and then having the other sport be available, that would be great. The other question I had was the little slide. Is that going to be made of concrete or is that metal? What's the?
Yeah, right now we're envisioning it like a concrete slide.
Okay,
and,
cool.
We show it, let's see, you can't, yeah, it's tiny, but yeah, so we're looking at a gunite wall and we can kind of go and do under it, so it kind of looks integrated, so it looks more like an on-grade slide.
Yeah, I was thinking about, because my kids go to Davis, they have this little slide and they take cardboard and they go down. So I mean, hopefully that's, because I know metal would be awful with the heat.
Metal gets hot.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know the slide you're speaking of, and so this one would be this is kind of the toddler slide. It's about 3.5, 4 feet, so it's about 8 feet long, but it's wide, so 3 kids can go down at once. So the goal is to make it something they can just loop on and go for, and then of course the bus is a much bigger slide there. And there is another slide coming off the bus that isn't shown. That'll be a roller slide, which for all people in handicap or not, it just is a non-static slide, so it doesn't create any
issues.
static.
Yeah,
it's the one that little kind of it does. This
It's just little
right?
little 2-inch rollers that go down in it. Especially if you have certain equipment on your legs or something like that aid you, that makes the slide really quick and easy and doesn't
rolls
slow
you down. Yeah.
That's great. I love that. Again, I really appreciate all the shade, the natural shade. I love that, we have shade structures all around our parks now, but with the more natural shade with trees that you can have, the better. Right. It just feels like,
it's cooler.
It just feels cooler. So speaking of trees, I know that there's existing trees, the ones that are going to be planted. You don't have to answer this question on the podium, but is it natives? Is it what's the kind of?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a combination of what really grows great in your soil here. And, we'll work with Jason and staff to, look at the city and see what's the right one. So they'll primarily be deciduous trees. We do have some evergreens though in there to mix it up. So I don't want all the leaves to fall off and it'd be bare. So we'll have a combination of the evergreen, the deciduous and conifers, especially like you said, to try to help block some of the views of the highway and things like that. So we'll have a good mix. That'll be our next presentation.
About the
details,
Yes. One question I had about the pickleball and futsal was that is there a cost difference with having a mixed-use course versus having just a single-use court?
It would just be a combination of the fencing that would have to be added for pickleball.
Okay.
At the end, you would have goals built into the fencing, so it's just a custom fencing job or you can buy them prefabricated. So it's just a little added to enclose that court that's going to be pickleball. So that's where we can look at it, whether it's at the basketball court or if it's at the futsal court, it could be at either one.
Basketball, I think the reason I would move more to pickleball versus basketball is just there's two courts, right? There's
one court, there are 2 baskets, so it would hinder that, right?
Right. And so, like I said before, I think I said this in the live presentation, that during the winter, people head over to La 5 and it's always sold out. There's just not enough space for people to play indoors or play on a surface that's not grass. So I would love to see that incorporated into it. I think that the community will thank you, because otherwise you're going to get people playing futsal there, whether it's meant for it or not, you know, so just be preemptive there. So thank you so much for the presentation. And I do love the labyrinth. If there's a way to like definitely have that, you know, just looking at the kind of the picture of it, I was like, oh, it's already very calming to look at the labyrinth. So I don't know what is the, I know it's a little over budget, but how much over budget is it?
For the
Labyrinth is 12.
Yeah, I think that labyrinth item is just over $10,000, so it's not a huge line item
Awesome.
between the material and the rock, labor.
But yeah, how, by the way, how are the rocks situated? How do they become?
They'll be buried. You know, 2/3 of it will probably be buried, so the rocks don't move around. It'd be hard to get them up. So they'll be anchored into the decomposed granite and the base rock that would create that. Pretty stable.
Yeah.
They don't look quite that way at the shadows in that picture, but
I love the kind of built-in natural seating. I know you have benches, but the
Right.
rock walls are great for
yeah.
people.
And shooting gunite is actually really pretty simple when it comes to building that versus a concrete wall. You know, there's more forming in concrete here that just put some rebar up, start shooting, and they have fun. Yeah, it's just a process that I think creates a just much more natural
integrated.
feel. Right.
Yeah, and once you have them come to spray and do all that, it's like, might as well plug in these other elements because the mobilization, everything's already there.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for opening the labyrinth discussion. Everybody knows I was going to go there, right? Yeah, I'm glad to see it's still here. I did note that seniors was an item in the CBD grant goals. And so being the gray hair here, Don's abandoned me tonight, but I love all the elements. I love skate park. I love everything that you've done. I'm just making a pitch for a playground for seniors. They are a significant part of our population, and I think there are probably some creative ways to look at funding that would enhance their access to outdoor recreation, any types of movement and recreation that can address, you know, balance and fall hazard, and basically get folks out. Pickleball is also a very, very popular sport among, you know, the 55 plus. I'm going to go low here, the 55 plus crowd. But yeah, it's a very popular, popularized, you know, for that reason among that age set. So I appreciate that it's still here, and I hope that it gets funded. Of course, my other big concern that I articulate a lot is on the materials, and now more and more work is being done in terms of concrete and building materials that have less of a footprint, of a carbon footprint, and so hopefully they'll be economical enough to be able to access for some of the construction that's being done. And while we're talking about that, I did note a couple of places where, and I couldn't tell if the parking lot is anticipated to be blacktop or not, but given the heat, the difference between having a dark surface and a light surface and reflection and absorption of heat, if we can go towards the light, especially with respect to, you know, white roofing materials, reflective materials that will mitigate any heat island effect from the materials that are constructed on site. So those are my two comments. I can't wait to see this you know, flourish and come to life.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
I think last time we were here, you were speaking about the sustainability plan for the city. Has that been completed?
No, it has not, as a matter of fact. And so we're waiting, actually, our presentation to the commission. There was a draft. They have their consultants in place. They've done several meetings, but we haven't seen the draft yet. So that'll be the next major input on that.
Okay.
But I'm assuming from the work that I do with Yolo County Climate Action Commission is that tree canopy is going to be a big, heat island, tree canopy are going to be big items. And the other thing, insofar as the seniors are concerned, the other problem that we have is like getting our seniors to places, right? So having some programs that, if we can build the labyrinth and the reflexology assets, then having, you know, either via or whatever else we can figure out to also give seniors access to those sites would do well, and transportation obviously is going to be of the climate action.
And as we were talking about tree selection, right? And as we go down that road too, we've been totally focusing on the trees that are large sequesters, you know, things that are going to be bigger than others that don't have, you know, a lot of difference between the trees based on evergreen or deciduous leaf size. And so we'll definitely have the list that's on the top of the carbon sequestration trees. So that'll be there also.
Fabulous. I look forward to it.
I also wanted to add, you mentioned more like senior play. And something we haven't really touched on much was we're going to have natural logs and boulders along our path back there. You can see right behind the West Acre sign, we have a lot of room, and we included a number in our budget, but for logs and stones, and then we can have signage around that kind of prompts you to move and things like that. So we have a little bit more of that built around in the path.
Right. I was looking at the labyrinth, and I didn't see those illustrated there.
Yeah, they're not illustrated.
But given that people, it's a meditative experience. You know, it's not people sometimes associated with, you know, religion, but it's actually broader than that. And I also think having some information, it's going to come to fruition, but when it does, have some information there about the history of labyrinths in other cities and places that, you know, it's an interesting topic as well as an experience in and of.
This is one of the funnest things about being on this commissioner's projects like this. So I think the last one we worked on was Heritage Oaks. And what was the one? There's so many, I forget the names. Yeah, Heritage Oaks, right? Yeah. And that one we kind of did in a similar way with all the laid down logs and everything. So this is just, it's really great. And these drawings are fantastic. You could almost, I mean, they look real. So I don't know. It's not the usual sketch.
Your picture's in there on one of those kids in there.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So I have a few comments, but it looks wonderful. It's exciting. The lighting, I'd like to see maybe some lighting incorporated into some of these drawings so we can get an idea of what the plan is for the lighting. That was one of the items, I think, in the packet that we received, the agenda. Lighting was a big priority for the public and security and safety. So I would like to see kind of what the idea is for that. Will the basketball courts be lit, pickleball courts, soccer field? I mean, I don't know how expansive it's going to be, but the pathways, you know, I don't know, solar lighting, whatever the plan is for lighting, I'd like to see some of that involved in the next presentation. We talked about securing the bus at night, so I didn't know what the plan was. I know it's kind of like in the air.
Sure. We discussed about, you know, there's a couple ways to get on the bus, either go up a slide, climb a pole, or walk in the back. So at this point, we were looking at securing the back with a gate that would close like any of the other gates at the skate park or anything else, so you're going to have someone on site. So a gate that can close there to not allow people into the bus. If you so choose to climb up that tube slide, we haven't figured that one out yet, but we can look at, Jason and I were talking about that earlier, and I think there's plenty of ways we can control that so people aren't just climbing in there at night.
Fantastic. And I'm not a labyrinth expert, okay? I'll just get that on the table now. But my understanding, and maybe it was from that weird David Bowie movie, but don't they need like walls Like, or is that part of the experience, is to just have something simple?
Yeah, labyrinth, maze tend to cross lines, right? So
Okay,
the
yeah, I'm
maze
not,
typically is,
not like, what was that, The Shining, not like that big crazy thing, but like, but yeah, but like, maybe like a 2-foot wall, or could you stack the rocks maybe? So just there's a little more depth to the labyrinth, and it feels like it's more of a labyrinth and not maybe just like kind of a path. I don't know, that was just, but again, don't listen to me on it, it's just what I saw.
I mean, you'll find labyrinths that are literally just printed on concrete.
Okay.
Right, that are totally flat. You go to several, in San Francisco Airport, that they have one in the middle of the, some of the systems there. And I walked one about 6 months ago, and there was the security people, and there, no one else was in the airport. I was waiting, it's late at night. And, oh, do you guys ever walk this? He goes, yeah, when you guys are around, we're just spinning circles on this thing, because we're just doing nothing. But it's really about just the coin, it's the journey through there.
Okay.
So you don't need that direction as you
don't want to
Okay.
be constrained, but there's a
Okay.
sense of openness and reflection that can go on as you're wending this path, not being controlled.
Okay.
in journey.
So I had a feeling I was off target with that one.
I get it.
Okay, so as far as can we go back to the slide that had the funding on it, the areas? Because we talked about this, I think, the last one. Yeah, that one. This one, yeah. Okay, so I'm all in favor of a splash park. Okay, let me repeat that. I'm all in favor of a splash park. However, what I look for personally when I look at parks is the uniqueness. What does it makes the park unique? What are some elements that you don't see everywhere? What would make this park unique to West Sacramento? Those are always the questions I ask myself when I see designs. So for me, the bus is something I've never seen before at a park. And I wrote down a note about the Pirate Park. Okay, so this Sunset Vista, I think it is, over there in Bridgeway Island. Okay, so it has this contraption in the middle of it. It's just a simple playground.
Mm-hmm.
My kids called it the Pirate Park because it has that wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him the other day, I go, do you still call it the Pirate Park? And he said, everyone does.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have that simple element of the wheel. It's now known amongst the youth as the Pirate Park. Okay?
Cool.
This could be the bus park, right? So that's kind of what I see with the bus element. So I would, if there was cost adjustments, I'll say, I think we have a splash park already over at Bridgeway Lakes. We also have the rec center, which has the water slides and the shallow pool and the feature there. So again, I'm all in favor of a splash park, but I do see some redundancy there. And if it's going to be an expensive area to build something, and with a splash park, you probably want something that's splashy, not shrunken down because of cost, right? So here's an idea, or something to at least think about, is making the bus really be for the kids anyway, right? Making it be the focus of the play area. The bus is, I mean, to me, that's like, you got to have the bus. And it's got to be cool, right? It's got to have, I mean, almost like what we saw here with the slides and the climbing and the rock wall with the climbing. I think that's a fantastic idea. Kids who are waiting to get up and down the slide can climb up the wall and sit on it. And I think this to me, for as far as play areas go, this is like the focus. And let me see my notes here. The other thing is splash parks are seasonal. So you're going to have, like this time of year, no one's going to be playing in a splash park. If it was a different element, which I'll bring up later, you can utilize it year round almost. Other than the storms we had through a few weeks ago, which were nothing like I'd ever seen before. Usually it's a pretty dry but cold winter with occasional storms and things like that. So you have some year-round ability to use that section of the park. So one of the thoughts is you have these amazing pickleball futsal, is that it? Futsal?
Right.
Futsal area, right? Which I don't know much about futsal. I know that pickleball is hugely expanding. I mean, it's just becoming like the most popular growing sport right now that I'm aware of. And I'm sure futsal is very popular as well. So you have that element of these courts, which will be another unique element, right? We don't have very many or pickleball courts at all here, really, right? Zero, right. So zero. I didn't think so. I'm not a pickleball player, though I'm thinking of changing my mind. It looks pretty fun. So we have zero. So we would have 6 now, right? 6. Yep. You have the huge soccer/play field, and you have the basketball court and the skate park with the BMX. So what I see in these elements are, okay, well, what can bring folks to West Sacramento? How can we bring folks that don't typically come to West Sacramento to shop here, to eat here, to maybe stay or whatever, to bring those elements and incorporate them in? You could have pickleball tournaments, you could have skateboarding contests, you could have basketball tournaments, you could have soccer/flag football, whatever. So then I'm thinking, okay, if the splash park isn't there, maybe we expand the picnic shade area for people to congregate during those events. Or when you have multiple events going on at the same time, people can come have lunch. We have one of the community barbecues over at Memorial Park, which I know is really popular in that small picnic area. I've seen people use that community barbecue. So that could be something maybe that's incorporated into an expanded shade.
The larger gathering areas.
Yeah.
That could handle 100 people and things like that.
Yeah, so that would be, and I would imagine as far as budget as a budget would go, it would be less expensive than a splash park would be my guess.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. So you'd have maybe just expanding these green roofed picnic areas so you can have, families that are there, and it's right next to these play areas. So the young kids who aren't participating maybe in those tournaments or whatever would have a place to kind of cruise around while people are playing in their pickleball tournament or they're finishing up their soccer game or whatever that is. Having that expanded kind of area to congregate would be my recommendation regarding cost cuts and shifting of funds. So bus is the highlight. Splash park maybe not.
Can I respond to that really quickly? So
Yeah.
I think the splash park is something that's got to be in there just because it's part of the grant application.
Oh,
I know,
okay.
sorry. But we could rein it in a little bit. It doesn't have to be super sophisticated. There's certain ways I'm sure that Greg and Sarah are aware of circulating versus recirculating water, that kind of stuff. And the bus, I agree, is really cool.
Yeah.
But I think that this is just giving us an opportunity to see where we can kind of shave things off. We do have some pre-identified components that need to be part of this project.
Okay.
Yeah, the spray ground, it's not a big space, but the more water you got shooting out, the more it costs, right? And the nozzles coming out of the ground are really affordable. It's when you do a structure, the big dump buckets or things like that. We don't have one of those exactly on this one. It's kind of different. So we've done it's still expensive, but it could be simpler and we use more nozzles instead of structures. We can still get an industrial feel on it and adjust budget to where the bus gets more if that's where we want to head.
Yeah, well, could be fantastic. And then summertime, when you're having these events, people can cool off a little bit by standing over a nozzle or whatever. But it doesn't have to necessarily be, be as elaborate as what was in these photos. So those were the comments I had. And then if this park ends up kind of being as beautiful and grand as it is, which I hope it is, I'd like to see our city kind of expand into inviting people to come and do pickleball tournaments, inviting them to come have a skate contest, like reaching out to local skateboarding clubs or BMX, whatever it is, and be like, hey, come to West Sacramento, check out this new park, stay here, eat here, shop here, and maybe live here someday.
Yeah.
So. I would like to see us, I think we talked about the flag football tournament that the city put on over the early fall, and that was fantastic. We had people from all over the greater Sacramento area come into West Sacramento for most of the day. And so I'd like to see the elements be used by the public here, but also maybe on certain occasions, have some sort of an organized effort to really focus at that park. And then that's where the seating and all that stuff kind of comes in, where people can grab their lunch and come back and, shop local and eat local. So.
And that programming is key. And, I think we've all talked about that in this process, especially the staff, is how do we now use this park more and more and get more use out of it? And, when Heritage, Bright, all those, we're looking at all interchanging, products. And, there was pickleball over there, now it's here. Now what goes over there and how does it serve the whole community? So I think it's a look at all the parks in general and say, okay, well, events are good in a lot of spots. So I think I mean, to have events just brings people to the park, and then that's where they meet people, and that's where memories are created, right? So.
Yeah, and this park has so many elements to serve such a broad range of age, right? I mean, you could have entire families of generations or whatever that are coming to an event to watch, you know, whatever, the 20-year-old in the family play in a soccer tournament or something, but you've got that whole range of youth to elderly that can utilize this park while they're there or while that person's not playing or whatever it is. It's just, it's a really, really fantastic design. Lighting, securing the bus, Flash versus bus. I think I covered everything. Gate contests, expanded picnic area. All right. I talked a lot, so I'm sure there's some follow-up here. Go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to kind of follow up with Mr. Jan's noting about the splash park. I do want to know, again, I've emphasized this was my neighborhood. I was one of the people that was coming out very strongly for elements in this park that you are incorporating into your design. Being that the splash park is part of it is a little over budget, I want you to consider not literally watering it down, that design, because so much of the narrative in this city has been about, well, the Bridgeway area gets like the fancy things and we don't. And there is something that, I mean, it's great to have like a really cool bus design. That's awesome. But I can see people being like, oh, cool, we got a big bus and like a tiny park, a splash feature, you know? And I think that hearing you talk about, and this was noted last time about hosting tournaments, and that could be a self-sustaining way of, like, for instance, having the futsal, pickleball, mixed-use courts, or having skate tournaments, whatever. That's a way to bring in some money to then maybe buffer the cost difference or whatever it is. So I think that, and I applaud you all for having such ambitious designs, because I'm fine with ambitious. Like, it can happen. I did this for a living, you know, like, there's money out there, you can find it. So I think we should be as ambitious as possible, so that show the community that we're trying, that this is not about giving one area something that's really unique and then kind of toning it down for another area because of costs. I think that just shows community care. It shows that we're like, you're just as important as that part of town, et cetera. And again, that's just giving you sort of the politics of the city, but I think it's important to consider in the design process. With that being said about like, I'm glad that it's in the grant, so we're gonna have to do it. I would love to see, like, I love that there's like pipes and stuff involved. I know that you're gonna go into more of the design features of it as we move forward, and like the specifics of it. I'm just thinking like, with that, is there a way to incorporate rain? I know we don't get much of it, but is there a way to kind of have stuff in this? There's if and when it ever rains, you can be like, I want to go to the park, because there's one park I went to in Roseville with my kid 10 years ago. And it had some like natural things built into the rocks where when it rained, it would like great places where he could take his boats and you know.
With that gunite, we can easily integrate that into those planters just right there. So, yeah, that's a good idea.
That would be great to see something like that. So when it's off season, you still have this use of this park. Yeah, that's there. So that being said, I wanted to emphasize that, like, you know, we should be as ambitious. I think that people will turn out for it, and they'll thank you for it. And I do see this park being so, like Commissioner Jans pointed out, being so multi-generational, that you will see it being a draw in and of itself because of that, because of the wellness component. Right now I have an elderly dad. I can't bring him out very much because he doesn't have a lot of muscle tone. So I would love to bring him to the labyrinth or the reflexology. He has feet issues. He's had multiple like surgeries on his feet. So I'm like, oh, this would be a great place to bring him, but also let my kid go to the playground area and can watch both at the same time. So so I just, again, wanted to give my 2 cents there. Thank you.
Aaron, thank you so much for pointing out that the grant application itself requires the splash park. I'm basically going to echo exactly what you said, Commissioner Ahmad, that I am really excited to see opportunities in the northern part of the city. I don't live in the northern part of the city, but I'm used to finding that I have a lot more amenities where I live than there are in the north. And the the sense that you can say to folks who live in Bright Broderick and Washington that they can always go down to Bridgeway Lakes, or they can get a membership to go to the what do we call it? Rec Center. Thank you very much. I think it's just it's missing how people who don't have as much as we might actually think about the space around them and how they get along. So something closer to the population that might have a chance to use it, I think is always smart design and really helpful, and green design, because it means people aren't driving as far. And I'll add to your point. I don't know if it makes any sense to incorporate certain new kinds of design elements into what you've designed to incorporate rain. But anytime you can put a bioswale in, I'm for it. So put that water to use. Make sure it's not going back into the river if we can.
Yeah, there'll be a full stormwater control plan. So everything, that whole asphalt, the whole parking lot, basketball court, everything will be collected on site and go right back into the aquifer.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you.
Go ahead.
Any more comments on that on the spray ground from David?
Well, I know.
Direction, please.
I have a more generalized comment. I'm going to carefully say it, so go ahead first.
Okay, I'm just going to make another pitch for water. So I like to see things integrated. So what I see in this intergenerational park that we've created, in the midst of a climate change crisis in which the temperatures have been increasing at a radical range and are projected to increase even further by a few degrees Fahrenheit during my lifetime. So that'll tell you how near it is. I see a water feature as being someplace that everybody would, I can see people playing pickleball and then wandering over to the park to walk underneath the water feature to cool off. Everybody here knows that I ride my horse, but after on a hot day when we are finished, I spray him down and then I turn it on myself because it's hot. We had 3 days. We had 115 degrees in Sacramento this summer. We had a 3-week span of well over 100 degrees on a daily basis. So I would not, when you mentioned nozzles, I had this idea of the nozzle coming up this way, but I would really like to be under a spray that would cool me off. And I don't care if my clothes get wet or not, they'll probably dry out in about 2 seconds. I see people coming off the basketball court and walking over to the water park. And I know that it can be seasonal, but I still think, especially with the water reuse that you're talking, the storage and reuse that you're talking about, I just see it as an asset that makes our park useful all year round to everyone that's using every element of that's why.
And what I wanted to say about the spray, what we're hearing is, it's a great spray. We're going to have spray and water, but maybe we also think of it like an urban plaza. So on the off, if sprays are off, maybe we look at where our vertical elements are and make it where, we can put tables and things and still have the elements. So it's urban plaza and spray ground, and we wouldn't be taking elements out, maybe at cost or to have something of less, but just to have it more multi-use. And maybe we put misters on the awning, and we could just think about being smart with the water and not, like we said, not to make it not as good as the other part of it, but to make it more multi-functional. Maybe we'll
and the demand for cooling centers for people who do not have air conditioning in their home is regional. And I was very happy to see that West Sacramento had opened up the city hall and had provided that opportunity so that people just have to go to the mall and walk the lap. But this in effect could be rather confined, either not having air conditioning and needing a place to go where you want, or being confined in your house because you're hovering around the air conditioning, to go to an outdoor space and take your kids with you to an outdoor space where you can all just cool down, to me is an asset, and there's a permanent need for it.
Okay, last thing on the splash park. Keep in mind that the last couple of years, many years, we were in a drought. We think we still are in a drought technically, and the water park wasn't even turned on during the summertime, I believe, correct? Due to water conservation. So again, I'm not opposed to it. I just, when it comes to cost consideration and usage, I just see a lot of money being spent on a feature that, when it's available to be turned on, is only on during certain months, if water is available to turn it on. So for the cost, I guess, is the juice worth the squeeze, that old expression, right? Is it worth putting that much money into an element that may only get limited use? And that was kind of where I was going down with that. Then my other thing is, I certainly understand the idea that there are essentially a north side and a south side of the town, and I hear this narrative a lot, so I'm going to be very careful about how I present this, but I certainly understand the idea that there are certain elements in one area of town that aren't available to, or aren't nearby the other area of town. But I like to think of West Sacramento as an entire city and not divide it into two different sections. West Sacramento's come a long way through its history, and a lot of the reason why there's some newer, updated elements on one side is because the land was available and it was developed more recently. These are park renovations where they're trying to rebuild what was already there. And if we have the north side of town, or where this park is kind of a little bit in the middle, is going to have a really cool skate park and a pickleball courts that aren't available to these, aren't nearby the southern end of town. So as we continue to kind of split hairs over which side, I just don't, I have a hard time hearing that, because I like to think of our city as one big community. And if you want to go play pickleball, there's a lot of resources available to get there. You have VIA, you have a lot of opportunity to go to these different elements. So again, I'm not opposed to it. I certainly understand that conversation, but I just, I don't want to see our city divided like that over park elements or amenities. There was a time when the South was being developed that the nearest grocery store was miles away until the grocery store was developed. So, I mean, it'll never stop. So
Yeah.
I certainly hear it. I hear what people are saying, but I just want to remind folks that we have an entire footprint, and there's going to be elements all over the city that are going to be different. And I like that. I like that about the city, that certain parks have certain amenities, other parks have other amenities. And if you want to go to those amenities, you got to travel around town, So any other comments on the parks or anything? I know I just dropped another bomb. Boom. Okay.
Bike racks, where would they go?
Everywhere.
Possibly? Everywhere? Just wanted to check. Thank you. Bike racks.
Bike racks, trash cans, all those normal things that we need everywhere there'll be some at the pickle, there'll be some at the middle, there'll be some at the skate park. So they'll be, spread out throughout the site where you're headed.
I saw doggy bags was on there too.
Yep.
That's good. Okay, we had a public comment on this item. Are they still here? Or?
Thomas Amsler.
Sorry, thank you for waiting. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Thomas Amsler. I'm representing the West Sacramento Soccer Club, which was established in 1974, so many, many years ago. Currently, we have a total of 1,043 players that play this season, starting fall, and we have out of that are almost 180 competitive players who play all year round. And I'm really pleased with what I see here with this park, that we get now a turf field that's all year accessible. one thing we battle with is, a lot of people say we have zero pickleball, we have zero this, right? We don't really have zero dedicated soccer fields in West Sacramento, right? We don't have any turf fields that are all weatherproofed. We don't have a lot of fields that have light access. There's not Bright, which is shared with softball. And if you have that many kids, and it's probably the biggest youth club in the city that's represented here, right? We need to be also mindful how we can serve that. This truly spans the north and the south, the east and west of the city equally, and we have a huge, we serve to huge communities across all of the city. And what I want to also reference is the mixed-use facility where we have pickleball and futsal, or if it's basketball and futsal. Right now, a lot of teams travel to Thomas, to Elk Grove, anywhere where we can use those futsal fields. Because as great as Le 5 is, you rent the field in there for 1 hour, it's $120, and that's just pricing out pretty much 90% of all our population here, right? So we need to be really mindful and make sports accessible to everybody, and soccer is such a sport that you need a ball and you go out on the field and have fun with it. We can also, as we get more fields in, we can actually host tournaments. Again, that brings in a lot of outside traffic coming in and using amenities and, spend money in the city. And a lot of other clubs all around us do that, and we can't do that because we don't have any soccer field, right? We have to go to Woodland. They have a nice community park called Turf Multipurpose with baseball and soccer. We have zero, right? We have one field at River City. If you want to rent that for State Cup games, it's $90, right? It's always it's kind of this whole concept of pay to play, right? And it just prices out 90% of our community, which is not really acceptable. And that's the end. Thank you.
So we're able to comment, right? Because it's on the agenda. And then there was another public comment at the beginning that we could have also commented on as well, right?
The comment in the beginning wasn't on the agenda, so.
Well, it was regarding the BMX park at Westacre Park, right? Oh,
Right.
okay. I misunderstood. Okay. But we can certainly talk about this. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Amsler, for your comment, and I wanted to point it out to you all about my son is one of those people that plays competitive soccer here in West Sacramento. I have 3 other kids who play soccer, and just all the comments that are mentioned about Westacre and about trying to bring in some outside communities so we could help sustain the park for its different elements. At Le 5, I'll just use that business because it's the only indoor soccer place in West Sacramento. I'm there all the time with my kids for drop-in, and it's like you see everywhere, it's people from everywhere, Rancho Cordova, Elk Grove, Davis, Woodland. They come from all over to that little area, and it's always booked out, and it's expensive. And I think sometimes we're able to secure like a West Sac soccer club rate, but for the most part, if you're member from the community, it's not sustainable to pay $120. Like I had some families kind of pitch in. We have a team of 10 kids, and we could kind of like break up the costs, but not everyone's willing to do that every week when we had all the rain. But beyond the rain, I know that in the past, and Jason can speak to this, is that when it's raining and it's like you have wet turf, you mess it up with your cleats, right? It's just not great. But during our parks master plan, I'm going to kind of reemphasize that one of the findings that was really telling to me was that, West Sacramento, at the end of the day, our median income is below the state average. This is not like by far a very wealthy community. We still have people that are considered low income, like by far. And so we have unhoused youth. We have literally community schools that are going into place to help sustain these youth and these families. And so we have to think about if soccer is such a universal sport, you really do just need a ball. That's why it's such a universal sport all over the world. We should be emphasizing these mixed-use courts so that we can have, again, the multi-generational, we can have the seniors playing pickleball and kids playing futsal. And then if it needs to have a nominal cost associated with it, like $5 or whatever, to rent the court, for like an hour or something. Like I invite staff to kind of like present, and I think that even the club would probably be willing to kind of work with you all to make that happen, because they're paying whatever 120 a pop for an hour at La Five. So again, just it would be lovely to see kind of ingenious and creative ways to incorporate this little and this element into this park. And assuming from what you said, it's not going to be a huge cost difference, I would love to see that become a priority. So thank you so much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for the comment. I see the use for soccer fields as well all over the city. They're certainly packed. They're run year round. They're playing at River City a lot. They play. I mean, it's a huge sport, and we're certainly short on fields. I think a lot of cities are, because it's such a hugely popular sport. I think overall, if we've talked about this for years in the city of West Sacramento, is the need for a general sports complex that has multiple fields, lit up, is open and available. And the conversation is always about space, finding the space to use it, the costs. I think there was a time when the West Sacramento Little League during the ADA renovation was looked at being moved out of Memorial Park, and it was like, well, where are we going to put them? And then it came up again years ago for the need for a sports complex that was soccer fields, baseball fields, et cetera. I think we have baseball fields, we have some softball fields, but certainly I see the need around town for soccer. It's played constantly, every day, and lawn just can't take it. It can't take being used that much, but people want to play, and I encourage them to be out playing. So I think at some point, I don't know when or where, but a sports complex with 4, 5, 6 soccer fields, if possible, that's lit and can be used, and it is turf, because that turf makes a big difference in its usability year round, but it also ups the maintenance a little bit in terms of adding the rubber. I coach at River City in the football field there, and they start to peel up, and you can have twisted ankles and things. So there is a maintenance to it, but the usability, I think, Jason would be the expert on this, but that's how I see one of the solutions. But I'm certainly wouldn't be opposed to having this being a soccer field. But I know that there's it's programming of sports in the city is tough. It's tough because and that's why these projects are so important. And that's why they're so much fun to see parks space being renovated for use like that. So thanks for that comment. I hear you, and I definitely agree. We need more. Anything else? Okay. We have a resolution that we have to pass, and then we got the director's report and some communications. Before we move on, I just want to say that as a commission, I welcome difference of opinions. I think we should not, so I would welcome anybody who would disagree with anything I have to say, vice versa, because I think that's what makes a commission, good, is when people are, respectfully disagreeing with each other and debating different topics. So anytime that comes up, I welcome anyone on the commission to speak their mind. We have a resolution regarding time, item number 5, time and date of future meetings. I haven't heard if the commission has been adjusted or if we're continuing on yet, but we can certainly decide, I guess, for whoever's here next, if it's not us, of when what time and date they meet.
Yeah, I do know that they haven't picked the new commissioners.
Right.
So.
Right. So everyone looked at the resolution. It's essentially to continue as we were.
So I need you to read off the dates and then call for a vote.
Okay, so I don't have to read the whole thing though, right? Right. Okay, so the dates that are being proposed are April 4th, 2023, June 6th, 2023, August 1st, 2023, October 3rd, 2023, December 5th, 2023, and February 6th, 2024.
Every even numbered month, yes.
Every even numbered month. That's even better. I like that. Yeah, every even. So as we were. So we just need a motion to carry the resolution and
a second.
And an approval, right?
I move to approve.
Commissioner Reed moved to,
Okay.
motioned, and
Thank
then
you.
Commissioner Ahmad seconded.
Thank
Do we need to roll at all, or all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Perfect.
So you need me to sign it, right?
Yeah, we'll sign afterwards.
Oh, after.
Thank you.
Do it right now. I'm doing it right now. Okay. Moving on to Director's Report, item 6A.
Good evening. I will be giving the director's report. I would like to start off by welcoming Sherelle Foster to the Parks family. Sherelle is our new secretary, and she will be running future commission meetings.
Welcome.
Sherelle comes to us from the state and has many years of public service under her belt. We are super excited to have her join our team, and I invite you to welcome her as well. Also, I would like to welcome our new recreation supervisor, Brandy Dion.
Randy?
Brandy worked for the city in Parks and Recreation Department between 2007 and 2017, so she's like, what do you say, OG? Like, she's been here, yeah. She worked in the Youth and Teens ACES program and served as an aquatic supervisor at the rec center. Brandy is a resident of West Sacramento, and in her new role as a recreation supervisor, she will be overseeing health and wellness classes and programs, membership retention, and program marketing. So please welcome Brandy. Okay, and so in terms of parks projects, we are actively under construction with the Southport Levee Trailhead. Pretty cool. So that you guys were all part of that, the planning process. So very excited about that. The RFP for Heritage Oaks Master Plan Design has been closed, and the contract will be awarded to Milton Design Group at the 3-1 council meeting. So we're super excited about working with them again on that project. So you were the commission was part of, I know, the planning process for that. So we get to have the firm that's helped us with, make West Acre amazing, help us with this next park. So we are like over the moon. So very excited. The Bright Park RFP has closed, and we will be we're evaluating the proposals right now. And so we'll let you guys know where we are with that. I also want to mention, in response to play fields and all weather soccer fields and stuff, I mean, Bright Park is going to have a lot of play fields. So that's really, hopefully going to fill that void for soccer players and softball players. I also wanted to provide some updates on the rec center. You guys all have a calendar within your package to show some of the parks events that are coming up, but also wanted to mention that the Soggy Doggy event is going to be held at the rec center on April 1st. The rec center, it's the Rec on the Move activity or program. It will be held at Bright Park on April 4th through 6th from 10 a.m. to noon, and it's going to provide some free recreational programming and activities for families. And then there's going to be a spring celebration and Earth Day egg hunt that will be held on April 8th at Bright Park. That concludes my report.
To clarify, you were talking about Bright Park, the same group that was designing West Acre. You were referring that they were going to do the Bright Park design?
No, no,
Which
they're
park?
going to be doing Heritage Oaks.
Heritage
Oaks Master Plan, yeah. So they're
the master plan. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And to clarify, for Bright Park, we just closed the RFP, so we'll be evaluating design firms for that and bring those.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you. You guys are doing a great job, by the way. Okay. One of my favorite topics, item 6B, Commissioner Communication. We started that way. We'll go. We'll start with you.
I really don't have anything very new other than, in addition to sitting on the Yolo Climate Action Commission, I'm in a working group on equity and engagement, and which really brings to mind how we tell our communications and how we ensure that all the voices are heard in our. So I think I'm hoping that we're going to be able to experiment with different approaches, engaging the community, especially around climate action, where different communities have different effects on their well-being. So having those communities engage suit their community and reflect their heritage and their traditional knowledge. So one of the things that I'm working on and will raise every while when we're talking about outreach and communication. There will be, I also, as you know, sit on the Yolo County Adult and Aging Services Commission, and they have asked me, you will soon be blessed with a request to invite me to make a presentation on emergency preparedness. So, given the extent of extreme weather events and the flooding that has occurred throughout the county, now, we weren't hit so much, but different ways of preparing for not only extreme weather in terms of precipitation, but also wildfire, wild smoke, the other impacts that we continue to get work. That's it.
I have just, my kids are playing junior NBA, so shout out to Chris and your staff, Victoria, for doing such a great job. Like, we took a hiatus because of the pandemic, and a lot of families that I've been talking communication with, it's like this is their first time kind of coming out of the woodwork since the pandemic. So it's a lot of fun to see everybody out there, and you all do an amazing job of keeping those, getting the coaches and providing the facilities, all of that. So thank you. It's a lot of fun for them. And it's a great program. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
So at the moment, my child is playing indoor soccer at La Five. So I think we've spoken enough about La Five today. I think I can leave that one aside. I want to say I was really hoping to have a dry January, but nature had other plans, which brings me to kind of a question I want to speak out loud. I've shared this with Director Michael, so this wouldn't be the first time that folks at Parks have heard about it, but I've been interested to know, and I'm hoping maybe at a future meeting we can get a report on how the January storms affected the parks. I'm particularly thinking about how many trees fell and what the impact is, maybe a full inventory of damage. Did they hit anything? I'm sure you folks were waiting until things dried out a little bit before you had a chance to actually go around and see what transpired. And then following that up with similarly, what grants or other funds do we have to make the repairs that I know come with that damage? So I would love to have that update at a future meeting. I think would be important to know, and hopefully we'll find out that it wasn't too bad for us.
I just wanted to mention that again, that I'm a volunteer at River City High School for the wrestling team, and we actually won the Metro League tournament. Coach Jason Stolpel, the head coach, has been doing a tremendous job there. We have a roster of 46 wrestlers, so that's great numbers for wrestling. They are going on to the next round of tournament, which is playoffs also. It's going to be at Laguna Creek High School. So if you haven't seen a local wrestling tournament, this is a great opportunity to come out and support the local grapplers for each high school in this area. Thank you.
I don't have much to communicate, but I do want to share, well, I also want to see what the damage was for the parks in our area, because it was everywhere in Sacramento and here too, but that would be interesting to look at and review. But I think I mentioned earlier that I hosted and held a town hall meeting in the Broderick area, because I'm sure if you're a part of the West Sac discussion group, there's been an increase in graffiti. So if anybody's interested in that, I just want to share that information. We are currently getting a task force together for the community, so that community members, because I believe there were mailers sent out to community members that they were going to be fined by the city if they didn't clean it up. So a few of us community members thought, gosh, that's, for the elder. I actually had somebody message me that her mother had a mailer come to her, and the veteran, she's an elderly woman, and that it would be very hard to afford to do the repairs. So we've actually taken action on that. I'm going to put I put together a group on Facebook, so I'll be sharing that with everybody. But if anybody needs those resources, you know, we've already actually spoke with our district city councilwoman, Norma, and I believe she asked our city manager if, you know, what is available to us. So I think like paint is available to us, so that's great. I'm glad to hear that. And then another group that I sit on a cab for West Sac PD for Measures for Justice. So we're currently in the beginning stages of gathering data for the community to have, so it's readily available to our community. Because we really either have really outdated information or nothing at all. So I'll be giving that information and sharing that information as it comes in also. So having transparency with anything that relates to like criminal activity or, you know, okay, they were arrested, but what happened after that? Those type of things for our city, for West Sac, because it's becoming, or they're questions that a lot of the community has. We don't have too much data on it. So that's for me.
I'll be brief because I know we're getting kind of late. So my son and I have been going to the rec center, getting our day passes. I want to see how much he sticks with it before I buy the monthly pass, because I've been there before with gym memberships, you know. So, but it's a fantastic facility. Reconnecting with it again, and it's I think for the two of us it's like $12, I think, for an all-day pass, and that includes all the facilities. The staff is super nice there. It's very clean. The equipment's for the most part is running well. I would recommend another carabiner on the other pulley. There's the two pulley machines. So if where's Paul or Chris is out there, so. But that's been great. So I just wanted to commend the parks staff for keeping that facility going and making it available to the community. I see a lot of students go in there after school, a lot of students. So that's great to see them go from school directly into the facility and utilize the facility after school. So that's been a fantastic thing. West Sacramento Little League, I think, is about to start up. So I imagine your phone's ringing quite a bit, Jason and Chris, and getting that going. I think they're going to begin in March, and they have a fundraiser that's sold out the last weekend of February. But I'm no longer on that board. My son has aged out. I'm no longer the president, but I still help him out where I can. And I think I've offered my help to you as well, Jason, and the park staff, to be a liaison to the league if you guys need it. I hope everyone survived and with minimal damage in the last couple of weeks. I want to say it again, I've never seen anything like that. So I'm curious about the climate action that's coming up, because I think Mother Nature looked pretty angry for a couple of weeks there. It was pretty phenomenal. So I don't know if anyone caught the lightning that was coming through. It was like green and red at times. It was pretty crazy. So, and I heard Jason moved out here for the better weather, right? So, I heard it was from my cousin. It was 45 degrees in Boston the other day, so which is unusual. So it's nice and warm over there, and it's getting killed over here. So, I just want to thank. I don't know how long we're going to be together. I don't know what the news is. We have a couple months, so we may find out over the next couple months. But I want to, if this is our last meeting together, I don't know if everyone reapplied or not. But I just want to thank each and every one of you for your input, your ideas, all of your comments, your opinions. I really appreciate all of you having the perspective of this group from such a wide range, different backgrounds, different areas of the city. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all the staff. So I have reapplied. I just don't know if I'm going to be on the commission still. So I love this commission. I think it's great. And again, I just thank all of you for your time and volunteering. Your efforts to the city. That's all I have. If anyone else has anything else, I'm going to hit the gavel and we're going to be done. It's 8:18. Yeah. Do we need anyone motion to adjourn? Commissioner Ahmad, motion to adjourn, a second. Commissioner Castro. All right, we will adjourn the meeting at 2018. Thank you.